What I love about this is I can brain dump, and I'm going to tell you exactly what you should brain dump. I'm going to talk you through the exact questions that you need to talk ChatGPT through. So if you've ever taken the advice to sell the thing first and then build it out while the people are in it, this video is really going to help. You're also going to find this useful if you're in what I call the business of becoming. Your program, your service, your coaching or consulting helps people in personal transformation. It helps them become the person that they want to grow up to be. And if you happen to be someone like me that reads a lot, knows a lot, and you think in webs rather than in a straight line, then what I'm going to share with you is going to be so incredibly helpful. When I was sitting down to create the course component of the Clarity Collective, my biggest frustration was, how do I take everything that I know, 30 plus years of doing this, and find a starting point? So what we're going to explore is how I stripped everything down and found a way to simplify what I create without compromising quality. In fact, by enhancing quality, because it's so simple to build, it makes it even simpler to consume and get into action with. And that's what I wanted for my clients. So let's get into it. Let's start by defining the problem. This is going to be a step that you never ever skip, because what it does is it helps make sure you're solving and fixing the right thing and not shadowboxing, doing all the things you could do but probably should not be doing. Just to clarify, I am not talking about your client's problem. This is not the problem that your program is meant to fix. That's not the problem. We'll get to that later. What I'm talking about are any obstacles, any internal objections, any blocks that you feel or resistance that you feel to building your program. Like, what is getting in your way? Just make a bullet point list. It's super simple. I'll give you an example. I have been an entrepreneur since I was 12 years old, and I have run this business since 2014. I have, all things told, 30 years of experience. And the way I think, I'm more of a polymath because I connect ideas. I see people as connected. I see ideas as connected. But the problem with this way of thinking is that finding step one, when all the things seem to talk to each other and they all go in kind of circles, that was the hardest part for me. Here's what I did. I downloaded the ChatGPT app on my phone, and I like doing it on my phone. You can absolutely do it on a laptop or computer, but I like doing this when I'm out away from my desk, where my thoughts can be free. So I'll go for a walk, and then what I'll do is I will simply use the dictation function. It captures my voice and then turns it into text, so I can actually have a transcript of everything that I've said. What I love about this is I can brain dump, and I'm going to tell you exactly what you should brain dump. I'm going to talk you through the exact questions that you need to talk ChatGPT through. I don't have to have pre-organization to my thoughts. That's where I get bogged down the most. If I can just free flow and say things as they come to me in whatever random order they come to me, that I have zero resistance to. So I removed the resistance. That's why I say name the problem first, because if you know what your resistance is, then you can design for it. And that's exactly what I did here. So what I do is I let ChatGPT do the structuring, because my brain is brilliant at knowledge and intuition and insight. My brain is not great at structure, but AI is brilliant at structure. Number one, what is the core problem you solve with your program? If you need help defining this, by the way, I've done a whole other video on it, so I'm not going to cover it in detail. I've also covered the next question, which is, who is your ideal client? Number three, explain the transformation that your program seeks to create. Now, this is different from what you talked about in number one. Number one is problem focus. So really that's more about the pain. Number three is about the bliss, the outcome, where people want to end up. Okay, so you have both those pieces. Next, for number four, you're going to talk about your core philosophies. This is super duper important, because if you're doing personal transformation work, likely you are using core concepts. It could be modalities like, let's say, gene keys or human design, things like that, mindfulness, whatever it may be. Or you might be using philosophies. Like in my case, I use the philosophy of sufficiency. I use the philosophy of emergence. I talk about anti-fragility. What the frick do these concepts mean? If my clients and I are not on exactly the same page, it's going to create all kinds of trouble when it comes to actually taking the actions and checking to see are they going in the right direction. Even if you're using, especially actually, if you're using concepts that are commonly used in your space, the word mindset comes to mind. This is a really good opportunity for you to define what you mean by mindset, specifically what you mean and what it is and what it isn't. And put all of this information into ChatGPT, because what it's going to do is it's going to help you make things crystal clear. For number 5, what are the pillars of your program? So these might be milestones, specific steps or actions that your clients have to work through in order. You can just get them out in whatever order. It's not important. And I'm going to tell you why in just a second. So number 6 is the magic of this process. You're going to tell ChatGPT, ask me anything you need to in order to help me. And this is super duper important because ChatGPT is great at structure, but what it's likely going to do if you don't add this prompt is simply structure what you've given it. It's not going to point out any gaps that it may have in order to properly reason through why something goes in a particular order. So what this does is it puts you and your AI thought partner on the same page, and it allows AI to challenge your thinking, which we'll get into even in more detail in a second. Now, I want you to understand that when ChatGPT spits out the structure or the outline of your program, at this point, it is probably going to be half-baked. And this is normal. If you're really, really new to what you're doing, do not expect AI to magically fill in the gaps and make you an expert. Really play to the level of expertise you actually have. That's when you're going to be at your most authentic and your most effective. Now is the really fun part. This is where you're going to argue with AI. You're going to kind of go back and forth. You're going to review the outline and you're going to say, well, I think it's going to be really hard for them to do their meal plan before they've cleaned out their pantry, for example. So you're going to argue and challenge the structure that AI has given you. And you're also going to specifically ask your AI buddy to challenge your thinking. I'm going to give you a prompt specifically for that. Once you have your basic outline, use this bonus prompt. What am I missing that might make it hard for a client to get results as I've defined them? This will help you identify your blind spots and up your game. I have 7 more steps for making your program absolutely super solid and really, really distilled and simplified. And I've put all of those into the Clarity Collective. It's $9 a month. It's a subscription you can cancel at any point. If you want that, you can find the link in the description. But just to give you a taste, I want to give you one of them before I go. Help me think through alternative containers or ways of delivering this transformation. I'm going to say right away, most of the ideas that you're going to get are going to be terrible or ridiculous or things that you absolutely can't do with the resources that you have. But you will have 1 or 2 that are going to spark a thought where you're just going to be like, oh my God, I'm so inspired and so excited by this idea. And this is exactly what happened with one of my clients. She ended up doing this salon style live workshop where she basically came in, and what we did together was we structured, it was a 60-minute thing. And for 15 minutes, she did some teaching. And the real magic of this process was that we identified a very painful pain point for her ideal clients. And we made it very, very narrow and niche. So what we didn't do was kind of try to solve this whole situation, because you can't do that effectively in 15 minutes anyway. So then you come across as wishy-washy and not that expert or effective. So what we did was we narrowed in on something that would spark huge epiphanies for people in 15 minutes. She spent the rest of the 45 minutes just answering questions and customizing things for people. And even though she only sold 5 seats, she ended up with 2 premium clients off of that salon. Now to finish off, I want to just talk about energy and time management while you're doing both client fulfillment and building the plane. I am recovering from chronic fatigue syndrome, so I have to be extremely mindful with how I balance energy. I have actually taken a look at, and the best thing that you can do is actually track what gives you energy and what depletes your energy, even if you like doing it, over the next week or so. And then you're going to use that data to design. So here's what it looks like for me. I noticed that I can schedule, like client work actually energizes me. When I have somebody else's energy and we're bouncing ideas back and forth, I find that incredibly energizing. If I'm writing scripts, if I'm shooting a video, if I'm recording a lesson, that's just me working at my computer, and that takes more out of me. So even though I'm really good at it and I enjoy it, it's more draining. It's more physically demanding on me. Here's how I manage my day. I will block off 4 hours of what I call deep work time Monday through Thursday. And of those hours, I will schedule the more demanding tasks earlier in the morning so that I'm getting to them and I'm getting them out of the way when I have maximum gas in the tank. And then I schedule client meetings and things like that for later in the day. Mid-morning and afternoon is when I will do client work. And what this does is the client work fills my cup, and then I get to bring that sort of energy and inspiration to my session where I'm writing a script or I'm writing a lesson and that sort of thing. I batch my work. So I will do a whole bunch of lesson writing at one time. I will maybe make slides as a batch as well, and then I will record a whole whack of lessons all together. So I'm not going back and forth with creating a lesson and making slides and shooting the content, because I find that for me personally is extremely draining. But for you, that might be totally different. I don't believe in one size fits none formulas because they typically fit none. I like to work off of data that you've actually collected on yourself, and then you take that data and you turn it into a design process. I would love for you to share your best tips for either managing energy or course creation, any of the things that we've talked about today. If you have an idea or something that has really worked for you that I haven't covered here, or if you have any questions about the things that I've talked about, I would love to hear from you in the comments. And I will see you in the next video.